Peace, prosperity, and love, beautiful people. Welcome to Gracefully Imperfect, a podcast for the Black and African diaspora in material of socioeconomics, politics, religion, and so forth. The centrality of this podcast is immersive empathy, introspection, deep thought, soul-serving conversation and communication, all in the light of unlocking the keys to vulnerability and transformation. During our time together, we will engage in topics related to mental and spiritual health experiences, the intersectionality of mental health and creativity, identity and culture, and any and all things related to healing from trauma, gathering insights, cultivating a deep sense of knowing, and repairing soul wounds. In the essence of communal love and collective consciousness, let us open our minds, lighten our hearts, settle our spirit, access soul intelligence, and affirm the richness of our humanity.
Peace, love, and blessings in abundance to all of you. I'm grateful and honored to be back on this podcast, Gracefully Imperfect, where we are fully embracing our most vulnerable, imperfect, and willing to change and transform selves. I'm also very glad to be back here because it has been very difficult to carve out the time to record, to edit, to develop a conversational plan, and to really continue to keep putting myself out there willingly and openly. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your understanding. And even though you may not know the specifics of why these recordings are they're not as structured and streamlined as they were before. I really do appreciate you still sticking with us and being in our corner, because this podcast is here to stay. And regardless of what is going on, I'm going to do my very best to give my very best in the only fashion that I know how to give. And that's with honesty, truth, and full compassion. It has been a very turbulent 3 weeks, 4 weeks, really. And so I really want to check in with all of you. How was your spirit? What has been going on in your particular life that has created a sense of stress, anxiety, sadness, confusion? How are you confronting the different forces and factors that are inhibiting your spirit of liberation? How are the people in your life doing? Your community members, your family system, your friends and kinship, your co-workers, your students, your employees, your peers, your children, and not just biological, the children that you interact with every day. for me, I am really, really been very bothered and troubled lately. And if you have been taking in what I've been taking in from a socio-political standpoint, then we need this opportunity to really recenter, reground ourselves, and to ensure that our values, our priorities, our worldview remains intact and is not becoming clouded and penetrated by anything that's alien and foreign. So, how are y'all doing that? How are you ensuring that your liberation, your healing, your worldview, your value system, your priorities, your consciousness is not being penetrated by any type of alien material? Are you going to church? Are you spending more time in social clubs and social groups? Are you hosting more parties? Are you going to therapy? Are you in group sessions? Are you spending more time out in nature? Going to the beach, feet in the sand, gardening, going for walks, spending more time under your favorite tree, drinking lemonade and reading a book, spending more time with your children out there in the spring climate? What are you doing? It's very important that we stay present with what we can control and the things that we can, that we have the full power to ensure that it does not become compromised. And so I have been spending these last few weeks quiet. And I've been spending it quiet because it's not that I don't have nothing to say. I want to make sure that whatever I say comes from a place of revolutionary love, a place where it is congruent with my value system, congruent with the principles of Mayat, the principles of being a spiritual first, a spiritual leading Black man, husband, father, community member. I want to make sure that whatever is flowing through me is getting processed appropriately. And it takes a while for me to process. I'm not one of those who can ingest experiences and situations and events and will have an immediate response. Not always, especially if what I'm pulling from different sources, the newspaper, different newsletters, Black-owned media, my study material, the books that I read, the lectures that I consume, the conversations that I find myself being very blessed to be in. When I'm pulling from all these different sources of knowledge and truth, and then even my own internal reflections and reflexiveness, it takes time for me to sift and sort it through. And what I will say is that lately I have been more quiet. I've been more deliberate in my stillness. I've been wanting to go outside every single day, and that hasn't happened. But when I do go outside, I go outside barefoot, feet on earth, feet on the ground, feeling all of its textures. I'm spending more time not trying to think my way through things, but feel my way through things. I was reading this article on African philosophy and the traditional ways of knowing, knowledge, gaining experience, and experiencing truth for the African. And we're talking about in its most traditional sense, is through feeling, through the affect and emotions. And not saying that cognition and logic and reasoning is not also a part of the African way of knowing and the African way of understanding truth, knowledge, and information. It's just that the affect, the emotion, emotionality, the feel is one of the primary modes. And so I've been trying to surrender to that because I am someone who suffers from analysis paralysis. I will try to think my way through things. And when you're already clouded and you're already bewildered, taken aback, and you're still trying to understand the multiplicity of reality and all of its different elements. Thinking could only really just creates more of an obstacle and more of a hardship. Knowledge and wisdom lives in the body, so therefore, in order for the knowledge and wisdom to be accessed, the physical, right? The physical must tap into the invisible, the spiritual, the somatics. There's information in the body, right? Right? We get that feel in our stomach, that hollowness, that rumble. We're hungry. Hands get sweaty, palms are sweaty, right? Heartbeat starts racing, right? We could be surprised, we could be nervous, we could be anticipating something. Shoulders tense up, neck tightens and constricts, right? Abdominals tighten and constricts. That could be a number of things. That could be fear. That could be anxiousness. That could be discomfort. Right? And so the point that I'm making here is that the body is not just a body. It's not just a physical temple. It is also a receiver, a harness, a channeler of information. And we have to go and get it. And so just thinking is not the only sufficient way of knowing and becoming more understanding of reality, of your situation, of the world around you. We must access that from within. And so lately I've been trying to do that. I've been trying to lean more into being more reflexive. And that has led to more stillness because answers don't come right away, y'all. And I know that for those who are very much attuned with seeking inner knowledge or inner wisdom, you understand that. You understand that the answers don't just come pouring out when you are knocking on the door of truth and knowledge and information. No, that don't happen. Prophecies don't just flow from the mind. And so I'm in a state right now that I'm still searching for answers. I'm still searching for meaning. There's so much going on in the world. Just the other day, I just saw a beautiful black brother being excessively harmed and hurt by police. And it was a mental health call. It was a call made by the brother's name, rest in power, Brother JD. And Brother JD's mom called the police in order to provide some type of mental health intervention for Brother JD. And Brother JD was misunderstood, was humanity was taking very unseriously. His humanity did not matter. He was treated with disrespect, discontempt. He was harmed, he was hurt, there was excessive force used on his body. And he was calling out and he was letting them know that he could not breathe. And there was no sense of trying to respect and honor the humanity of Brother JD. And so therefore, he ended up in the ICU, in a coma, and transitioned. And so I remember watching that, and I was just not surprised, but just I was so numb to watching a fellow brother being maimed and disrespected and hurt and harmed by the police. And that's where we live at today. It's become so commonplace that I was numb watching and listening to it. We live in a very violent society, and a very violent society. And the very violence that takes place, it is the violence that we're seeing and witnessing and experiencing is not violence between people, regular lay persons. It's violence that is inflicted by the apparatuses of government, whether state sanctioned, federally supported, and so forth. Even with the deportations, and even the wrongful deportations, that is an act of violence. The very fact that students from who have come to the United States from different countries are getting their visas revoked, are getting pulled off campuses, pulled out their classrooms, and deported back to a country, to their country, their nation, against their will. Even those who student visas are up to par, but because they speak out against injustice and the disproportionality dealing, in racial and ethnic affairs, they're speaking out, they're writing about it, and they're being targeted. So much is under threat, and so much is so much is under threat. Everything from the very physical body that we harness to the very minds that continue to evolve and recreate and regenerate itself as reality changes and an environment changes. The very personality and character that is associated with our beingness, our ways of knowing and learning and receiving truth and accessing truth. All of that is under threat. Even seeing the Smithsonian, the African American Museum in DC, being under siege financially. And now what we're learning is that articles and artifacts are being taken out and returned back to the sources that the museum personnel got it from, without explanation. Without explanation. The very symbols and artifacts and relics that are vital to us adults, to our youth, to our children, becoming more aware, invested, and integrated within the African American culture and African American heritage. Completely under threat. I graduate here in the next 2 weeks with a master's of social work. And one thing, when we talk about violence, we typically talk about violence from from the perspective of inflicting harm, death, destruction of a person. And really, but there's so much, there's a range and a myriad of forms of violence. And we're seeing all the forms manifest in real time. Yes, there's still domestic abuse and sexual misconduct. There is overt racism still happening today. Where Black people go into public spaces and they are treated inhumanely. Yes, racial epithets are still being expressed to Black folks. It is. So, yeah. Intellectual freedom is also a form. Intellectual incarceration, I'm sorry, is also another form of violence. Cultural dispossession is also another form of violence. Trying to control the ways in which family systems survive, flourish, and thrive is a form of violence. The Roe versus Wade, the continuous messages about need women need to have more children, and I know that in that context it was more geared to white women from the federal administration. But we can't hide the fact that our black women are under attack, just like our black men are under attack. The cradle, the cradle of civilization starts with the black woman. And so as we see, their maternal health is under threat. Reproductive health is under threat. We still have these false stereotypes that are interfering and impacting and affecting our black girls and women self-perception, self-concept, their mental health in general. We have black boys and black men who are languishing in loneliness and that manifests into a chronic emptiness that leads to the potentialities of suicide, substance abuse, depression, misguided anger and rage. And so we have to realize that is the very reality in which that we live in. There are some beautiful things. There are some beautiful things. There are some marvelous things. And I think we all know that. I think we all very much aware. We saw Sinners, right? We see black people creating and innovating like no other. But that's not a rarity. We've always been creating and innovating. We are cultural creators. So I'm not going to use this opportunity with you all intimately to speak on all those joyous, happy things. I want to really draw your attention to what is very uncomfortable to look at, in hopes that by looking at it, by confronting it, by holding the mirror up, that you see how you can, even if it's at the very small micro level, implement change. All right, y'all. This has been marvelous. I really hope that from this, that you're able to see yourself more clearly, see your situation, become more in touch with your worldview and your values and your priorities, to interact with reality more in a very authentic and non-compromising way. And then find the courageousness, to ask yourself, what can I do? As all this is happening to me, around me, in my backyard, in my front yard, what is one thing that I can do to show that I am politically primed, culturally primed, to fight against any type of violence, any type of atrocity that is coming from these different apparatuses? Please be well. Keep each other safe. Continue to look within, just as important as you looking outside. All right? I can't wait for us to continue this conversation. This is part 1 of this series. So much things to say. Please subscribe to the podcast. We're on YouTube, Apple, Spotify. Subscribe to the Substack, Creativist, and also the other newsletter, Soul Medicine, where I provide a perspective from a liberation social worker's lens. I'm also want to bring my book back into the mix, The Depths Below, full poetry on identity, crisis, mental health, culture, etc. Please support an independent author and their family. So that would mean so much to me, so much to us. And continue to walk forward and center the notions that you have the keys to unlock the very doors that lead to enlightenment, awakeness, and transformation. Peace, blessings, revolutionary love, y'all. Can't wait for us to talk again. I'll see you on the other side.